So this is an important time for our country. This is a time when your father, when your husband, when your brother, when your son could do great. Mom, I did great in school. I've worked so hard. Mom, I'm so pleased to tell you I just got a fantastic job with IBM. I just got a fantastic job with General Motors. I'm so proud. Mom, a terrible thing just happened. A person who I've never met said that I did things that were horrible, and they're firing me from my job, Mom. I don't know what to do. Mom, what do I do? What do I do, Mom? What do I do, Mom? It's a damn sad situation, okay? And we better start as a country getting smart and getting tough and not letting that stuff right back there, all those cameras, tell us how to live our lives. Because they are really dishonest people. Not all of them, but damn well most of them, that I can tell you. Fake news.
Can't help but see your T-shirt that you're wearing. That's you hugging Donald Trump. What's the story behind that?
This was on February 18th at the Melbourne rally. He literally called me up on the stage. I had to jump over the fence, break through Secret Service, and I ran up and I gave our president a man hug, and this is what it turned into. And I was able to speak in front of the millions of people, and it was a wonderful day. President Trump has changed my life, and the promises that he's made, he's doing them.
Such as?
Well, let's think about as in
But what promises has he made to you that he's kept?
Well, let's think about it. I know right now. Thank you for that. The Paris Agreement. He got out of that. He wants to repeal and replace Obamacare. That's in
Red pills you first.
So after Trump announced, this is right around the time. He announced in June 2015, and so I was very political, obviously super engaged with the election, and at that time, so this was going into my senior year of high school. I had a radio show on the high school radio station and a TV show on the high school TV station, as everybody. And so I went through all the candidates, and initially I was very anti-Trump because I was a libertarian. So I was in it for Rand Paul and then Ted Cruz. And it wasn't until April or March 2016, about 7 months in to my senior year, that I really went in hard for Trump. And Trump, I would say, is the one who red-pilled me, quote unquote.
Trump red pills you first.
He red pills me on immigration, really, because at that time, I am preoccupied with this notion of individualism. I guess he reoriented my perspective about individualism, because what I started to understand is that, you remember, in 2015, it felt like the left was unstoppable. It felt like Obama and then Hillary Clinton were going to lead this progressive revolution, and it was just going to get more left every day forever. The media's left-wing, Hollywood's left-wing, the press is left-wing. And what woke me up about Trump is one day I was watching the primaries, early primary elections, and Trump was winning all of them. He didn't win the Iowa caucus, but he won in New Hampshire, won in Nevada, and I remember the media was beside themselves, calling it every day for him. And I said, the one thing that Trump has right is he understands in order to take power, well, in order to do what you want to do, you got to take power first. In order to take power, you have to engage the media, because the media is really the enemy. Even Fox News, because Roger Ailes had it out for him early on. And I said, he's going to fight the mainstream media. That's essential, because if you can't fight the media, you can't win. If you don't win, you can't do what you want.
Because they were actively trying to destroy the red pill. They were actually trying to discredit it. They were actually trying. Why were they doing that? Because they knew that if they did, they could stop the vote of young men who were going to overwhelmingly side with Trump, which they did.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Nerd Chronicles with your host, the socially awkward nerd Christian Paul speaking. And ladies and gentlemen, we gonna really talk about the mindset of MAGA, okay? For those that are mainly up in that cult. Now, I've been trying to mentally prepare on what I'm about to present. And excuse me for the radio that's definitely down there, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for that. But ever since Donald Trump mainly been in office, a lot of folks have been acting out. A lot of folks have been crashing out. And even though, like, the folks that supported Donald Trump, that mainly have their way, a lot of them, not all, a lot of them are mainly still upset and are still losing their minds and being more and more reprobate. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just with, like, them folks that we mainly see. It's all races that mainly have that mindset. You know, any race that mainly supports that type of lifestyle or supports that type of MAGA lifestyle down to the hardcore, down to the T, you know, they have gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, I want to try and differentiate the types of MAGAs that you definitely got to just like understand like who they are. You know, the first is definitely like the moderate, you know, vote for the interest based on your selfish gain. That's that moderate type, but they're definitely friendly. They're not like gun ho based on like that whole party and based on that old mindset. Because clearly, you know, with the MAGAs, obviously they're like the blatantly racist types. You know, they practice that blatant culture of racism mainly like up in your face daily. A lot of them mainly do that. You know, the ones that may vote for Donald Trump definitely are like a little bit on like the hardcore conservative leaning. You know, I gotta try and save my business. I gotta try and focus on my economic interests, and that's that. They're the ones that actually just focus on that, but they don't really go anything further when it comes to race or treating people like garbage. Those guys, right? Those are the ones I would consider the safe type of MAGAs, right? But the other MAGAs, you know, the hardcore MAGAs, you know, them really just voting or die all the way. You know what I'm saying? Blame everything on everybody else outside the country but they own or but him. Those are the people that you need to worry about. They could be lying within the pseudo red pill community. They could be mainly up in the manosphere community. You can see them out there. They could be definitely up in the extreme alt-right community. You can find them there as well. You know what I'm saying? You can find those types of people that are definitely there. Definitely like the hardcore conservative pundits, you know, your Charlie Kirks, you know, your Eric Kirks, those types of people. They have that type of MAGA mindset literally down to the core that could be extremely dangerous. And if anyone, right, anyone mainly shares a mindset or they just trying to use any other groups to use as a turncoat, those are going to be the same ones that will literally toss them aside and literally try to spit them out. Those are the people that are mainly the most concerning and are the most dangerous when it comes to MAGA here. These types of people will be very quick and be very prejudgmental on what other groups are mainly doing. They're the ones that are causing the crime. Black people actually doing the majority of the crime. Other groups of people doing the majority of the crime. Oh, this dude's illegal, he gotta be deported. All these types of things. But many of them failed to actually thoroughly dig into the details of what went down, what the incident what happened, how it caused, did not do their thorough due diligence, always want to jump the gun due to like seething culture of hate and seething culture of jealousy and fear, rather than instead of actually utilizing logical common sense and critical thinking and do thorough due diligence on what really went down. You know what I'm saying? They want to come out and actually try to use that as a fuel to spew their wicked rhetoric and spew their hateful cultural rhetoric that you mainly see down the line. Example, Dan Dockets, right? Dan Dockets and his situation on his commentary in regards with the Mark Sanchez situation, in which Mark Sanchez was officially charged with the felony assault. Don Dockets here was out claiming that Mark Sanchez was the actual victim. And the truck driver, which we know was a Jamaican immigrant by Perry Toll, He was the one that was actually from the group of savages, according to Don Dockett's. They've been attacking him, and they're saying that Toll was the aggressor. Come to find out, when they did thorough evidence, Mark Sanchez was literally the aggressor the whole time. Yet, Don Dockett's didn't roll back his statements. He didn't turn back on what he said. Kyron Racy is like another example. You see like a bunch of folks merely sparing his name based on an allegation crime, but when evidence started unfolding and Kyron Lacey wasn't really directly involved with the crash, a lot of people were silent. Barson went silent. Jack Mack went silent on this. Brian Kelly was trying to actually keep things mum at the time when he was at the Colts. The block was crazy, and people literally out here literally copping pleas or actually trying to run out from what they just did. You know what I mean? Chaos all the way around. A lot of these folks with those MAGA mindsets here, those are going to be the ones that will literally come by and perform expired goods up in the middle of the night whenever they out of like a woods or they up at like some dusty location in the middle of Bumbleshoot University. Right? Those are those types of people that actually will do it when, you least expect it, or when their cameras aren't really rolling. This is when they really actually show their main true deviancy, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm trying my best not to actually talk politics up in the channel at all, because number one, politics ain't really my thing, and number two, like a lot of folks would literally be incensed on that type of ordeal, so I mainly keep out of it. It's just more so you gotta actually try and look into the characters of these folks that have that cult following, that have that mindset, and how dangerous they can mainly become. Yes, they practice their mainly culture of blatant hardcore isms, down to the T with racism, any form of is that you mainly think about. They have it. They are very dangerous, and even if you show them actual proof and actual evidence that contradict their statements, they will still be hell-bent on sticking with the same narratives. Why? Because it's the main culture that they mainly practice the whole long, and they don't know how else to be. Which is why the moral of the story in this, ladies and gentlemen, is to always be aware of who you hang with. Know the mindset of that person, because I had like a couple of friends of mine who definitely are hardcore MAGA affiliated, and when they were literally started to talk mess about Muslims and other groups, that was a cue for me to literally bounce and actually just go see these types of people. You know what I'm saying? And I still have some friends, time and time that have that MAGA mindset, but it's not as harsh. So with those people that are actually very discreet and definitely family bound, they're not loosey-goosey down to the core, definitely reconsider it at the very least. But if they don't really cause you too much mess, ain't nothing wrong hanging out every now and then. Because, again, it's not just MAGA that can actually perform that type of culture of like hardcore racism and isms. It could be like your liberal friends too as well that could practice the same stuff, but they do it in a different way. But that type right there, when it comes with like those MAGA folks that's out there, these extreme MAGA folks, like the mainly moderate ones, you can tolerate them, but the other forms of MAGA folks, watch out, watch who you hang with, be very careful. If you do business with them, be discreet, be civil, be friendly, but also definitely watch your toes and actually do your due diligence on the people that you're dealing with. And if they thoroughly act the fool and they're extremely disrespectful and extremely racist or whatever it is they got towards you, now it's your cue to bounce, and now it's your cue to literally leave them alone.
You're a Trump supporter, right?
Of course I am.
Perfect.
Go Trump.
It's a cringeworthy social experiment. Watch what happens when Donald Trump fans are read what they thought were quotes of his.
I've got a Trump pamphlet here, but I've replaced all the quotes with Hitler quotes.
Trump's been compared to the German dictator by some throughout his presidential campaign. But can these random people tell the difference between the two? SoFlo YouTube channel puts it to the test.
Who says I am not under the special protection of God? What do you think about that? Do you think...
I feel like that's okay.
That's okay?
If Trump's an atheist, that's okay.
I do not see why man should not be as cruel as nature. Well, why do you think he comes up with that?
Well, man is the cruelest animal.
Great liars are also great magicians. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I think that, you know, he's going to lie in any way, probably to like support the country, to keep the country going.
Good.
There'll be good lies, you know.
So you support everything that he's kind of said in this pamphlet here and in these quotes, right?
Of course. I'm a Trump fan.
Because Trump,
you know.
because Trump said it.
Now, when he reveals the quotes are really Hitler's comments, their reactions are hysterical.
I'd say you're lying to me.
They are, though. They're quotes from Hitler.
You made this pamphlet and did that? Oh my God. I'm definitely not down with racism.
So do you still support Trump?
Yeah, but I don't support Hitler.
Well, but you support these quotes, though, right?
Well, if Donald Trump said him, I'd support him.